Welcome to Chat Smart English. If you're here today, it's because you're passionate about improving your English, and I can totally relate. I've been through the ups and downs of learning this language, and trust me, I know it's not always easy, but every step along the way has been worth it, and I'm here to share my journey with you. When I first started learning English, I was excited but also nervous. I could barely string together a sentence without second-guessing myself. But with time, dedication, and a little help from some key strategies, I was able to push past my fears and build my confidence. I remember the first time I heard English being spoken around me. It felt like a whole new world opened up, and I wanted to be a part of it. But then reality hit. I wasn't confident enough to speak. I'd get shy, worried I'd make mistakes. But I kept reminding myself, making mistakes is part of the learning process. If I wanted to grow, I had to take that step. In this video, I'll walk you through my journey of learning English, the struggles, the breakthroughs, and the small steps that made a big difference. And by the end of this video, I'm confident you'll feel motivated and inspired to keep moving forward in your own language learning journey. But before we dive into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's also looking to improve their English skills. Let's spread the knowledge and help each other grow. Now let's get started. At the beginning of my English learning journey, I found it overwhelming. It seemed like everyone around me could speak fluently, while I was stuck trying to remember the simplest words. One of the biggest hurdles was vocabulary. I would hear words, but they seemed so foreign to me and I couldn't quite get the pronunciation right. I remember feeling embarrassed whenever I tried to speak. I didn't want people to laugh at my mistakes, so I stayed quiet for the longest time. But here's the thing. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. If we never try, we'll never know how to improve. It took me a while to realize that mistakes weren't something to be afraid of. They were stepping stones on my path to fluency. I also struggled with grammar. I remember sitting for hours looking at sentences and trying to figure out when to use the correct tense or how to structure my words. It felt like a puzzle I couldn't solve. But instead of giving up, I made a commitment to practice every day, even if just for a few minutes. Slowly but surely, the pieces began to fit together. Are you struggling with vocabulary or grammar? Don't worry, you're not alone. Comment below with what you find challenging and I'll make sure to create more videos to help you out. One of the most important things I did to improve my English was to start listening to it regularly. I remember hearing a piece of advice early on. Immerse yourself in the language. So I began watching English movies and shows, listening to English podcasts, and even tuning into radio stations. At first, I didn't understand everything, but over time I started picking up phrases and sentences that felt familiar. Listening wasn't just about hearing English. It became my way of understanding how the language is used in everyday situations. I paid attention to how native speakers expressed themselves, the rhythm of their speech, and how words flowed together in a sentence. I even tried to mimic their pronunciation to get the accent just right. This was a game changer. It made me realize that language learning wasn't just about memorizing vocabulary or rules. It was about becoming familiar with how the language sounds and feels. When I started watching movies without subtitles, it felt like a huge breakthrough. I wasn't just learning the words, I was beginning to think in English. Have you ever tried immersing yourself in English through movies or podcasts? Share your experience below and let's talk about how it's helped you improve your skills. Another challenge I faced was the fear of making mistakes. At the beginning, I was so concerned about saying something wrong or pronouncing words incorrectly that it held me back from speaking. I thought, what if they don't understand me? Or, what if I sound silly? But as I kept practicing, I realized that making mistakes is an essential part of learning a new language. I started embracing mistakes as opportunities to improve rather than as failures. I learned to laugh at myself when I said something wrong, and I appreciated the process of growing. Whether it was mixing up words or struggling with grammar, I understood that each error was simply a stepping stone toward fluency. Gradually, I built the confidence to speak English more freely. I realized that the fear of speaking was often worse than actually doing it. People don't expect perfection. They just want to understand you and have a conversation. The more I spoke, the more natural it became, and the less afraid I was of making mistakes. Do you ever feel afraid of making mistakes when speaking English? How do you overcome that fear? Share your thoughts in the comments. As I continued my journey of learning English, I began to realize something important. It's not just about the big milestones, but also the small wins along the way. Every time I learned a new word or improved my pronunciation, I celebrated those moments. These small victories were proof of my progress, and they kept me motivated. One of the most rewarding moments came when I realized that I was thinking in English. At first, I would always translate sentences in my head before speaking. But one day it just clicked. I was forming sentences in English without even thinking about it. This was a huge moment for me, and I took the time to appreciate how far I had come. The small wins also helped me stay positive when things got tough. Learning a new language can be challenging, but when you focus on the progress you've made, it makes the journey much more enjoyable. Every conversation, no matter how small, felt like a victory. Think back to a small win you've had while learning English. How did it make you feel? Share your experiences in the comments. Looking back on my journey, I realize how much I've grown. From those early days of struggling with simple sentences to now being able to express myself more confidently, every step has been worth it. But I also know that the learning process never really ends. English, like any language, has so many layers, and there is always something new to learn. I've come to understand that language learning is a lifelong commitment. While I've achieved many of my goals, I know there are more to come. I'm excited to continue improving my speaking, expanding my vocabulary, and fine-tuning my accent. But more than that, I've learned to enjoy the journey itself. For anyone starting their English learning journey, I want to say this: celebrate every step you take. Whether it's mastering a new phrase or holding your first full conversation, every milestone is significant. And remember, the journey may not always be easy, but it's always worth it. As you move forward in your own journey, keep pushing yourself and remember that you're capable of achieving more than you think. Stay motivated, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Your progress is a reflection of your dedication, and every small step brings you closer to fluency. Thank you for joining me on this journey of learning English. If you're still working toward fluency, remember, every step counts. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Keep learning and keep growing.